Jessie woo, VBS. I just turn the water on. Big old flex. She never saw before. He's chasing me like waterfall. Jessie woo.
What's up, guys? It's your sister, Jessie Woo. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Couple of Things, y'all. Your favorite podcast hosted by me, your sister, Jessie Woo. Now, before we get into today's episode with today's guest, please make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast on every platform that streams podcasts, please. So if you're on the Apple people, if you're an Apple person, find Just a Couple Things, hit follow. If you're a Spotify person, find Just a Couple Things, hit follow. And also, if you're watching me here on YouTube, are you subscribed? Go ahead and hit subscribe, okay? So you can get the visuals, all right? Now, without further ado, we're going to be talking to a young lady whose story I came across very recently. I was watching a docuseries on Netflix called Love, Con, Revenge. And this young lady's story came on, I believe it was like episode 2 or 3. And my jaw was on the floor the entire time. So we have SHAREZA Jackson here. SHAREZA, how are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. What about yourself? You're looking good as usual.
So are you. So are you. How is like newfound fame in a sense? How is that? Like with millions of people watching Love, Con, Revenge? I mean, I've seen it being talked about everywhere. How does it feel to have so many people out there know your story and know who you are and know your face?
I've been in the public eye for a minute, having the surgery center and doing a lot of public speaking and women supporting women and, being a person who just, loves women in real life. I like to call myself a woman's woman, a girl's girl. But this was different because I didn't expect, I always talked about Netflix. I'm a writer, an author, a playwright, right? And I'm like, one day I'm gonna be on Netflix, me and Tyler Perry working together and all this stuff. Girl, I didn't think I would be on Netflix like this,
Wow.
that my life experience would be documented like this. So it's fine. What I've come to gather is that my story and me being transparent about what has happened to me, it's not even about me anymore.
Yeah.
It's about so many other women that are going through it, will go through it, may go through it,
Yeah.
So it's so much bigger than me, and I've accepted that because I tried to keep it quiet. Jess, I tried to keep it quiet. I tried to just have a little quiet divorce when I started finding out things, and God was like, nah, we ain't letting it happen like that. So here I am.
So you had aspirations of being in Hollywood. Like, can you kind of talk to me about that? 'Cause I didn't know. Like, tell me everything that you have going on and what was inspiring you to be in Hollywood.
Well, I have several books that I've written. I've always been a writer. I write about life experiences, more so for the wellness of women, self-empowerment, self-development, and things of that sort. But then, I have that imagination as well, where I did write a stage play that debuted at Miramar Cultural Center in 2018 called The Evolution of an Extraordinary Woman.
I used to live right by Miramar Cultural Center.
I write, and it debuted there. We had like over 300 people that came out and supported. And, people are asking me to bring it back. Like, y'all, you need to go ahead and run it back. But we need to add a character in there now. So I'm working on that. But I'm a writer. I love to write. Writing is my therapy. Women's wellness has always been near and dear to me. I had my daughters very young, and I was a teen mom. But, being counted out, people counted me out. Told me that I would have 3 more kids by the age of 25 because I had 2 daughters by the age of 19. But I, still went to school, still went to college. I was that little girl going in the candy store, buying 25-cent candy and flipping it for 50 cents or $1, taking it to school.
That's right.
So I've always had that go-getter mentality, that go-getter spirit. And, me having, taking the road less traveled, that has taught me to, keep going. And then it also taught me that it's not just about me, it's about everybody else. Anybody that I come in contact with, I want them to leave a better person.
Yeah. I love that. Um, Speaking about hoping to make others better people, we do hear about your marriage to Dorian, well, Dr. Dorian Wilkerson. We'll get into that. But before we get into your marriage and your relationship with him, I like that you were telling me about being a playwright. Where was your life before getting with him? Like, talk to me about like what was Shereze's life like, day in, day out? What was your career? What was home life like before you guys crossed paths?
So it was just me and my daughters. Me and my daughters. I owned my own home. I had two luxury vehicles. Doing my thing in corporate America. I was a director, regional manager at a healthcare administration company. Doing my thing. Working in operations. I also had my first book out and my journal. So I was just moving and shaking. Doing my thing. Doing speaking engagements already. So I was in a very good place. I was doing business consulting, and I was in a very good place before he came into our lives and infiltrated our lives.
So on the documentary, you talk about you all knowing each other a little bit, I guess, like through high school. He was an athlete, you were more so like a bookworm. Did you all interact much in high school? Do you know what his reputation was in high school?
Yeah, all I know that he was a great athlete. I didn't know like anything about him personally. I just knew that he was a great athlete. That's it. I was a freshman when he was a senior.
Okay.
So, he left as soon as, I mean, I went in when I was in ninth grade and that was his last year of school. So, I didn't know too much about him, but I did know like he was a great athlete and he went to college on a football scholarship.
Okay. What did he know about you?
Um, just we would see each other. I didn't know how much he knew. I mean, he said he noticed me. We probably spoke. He said that we rode the same school bus, and he noticed me then. But we would maybe briefly have a little hi bye, but it was
Yeah.
never like a real drawn out long conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have mutuals, and did your mutuals have any thoughts on him?
Not at the
Okay.
time. I mean, I was in ninth grade, so we didn't really have mutual friends. I
Okay,
would say
so
after high school, it was more mutual then after high school, but not during high school.
okay. So fast forward to okay, so high school, how many years from high school to the year when you met him was that? Okay. So did you have mutuals at that point, and did any of your mutuals have anything to say about him? Did he have a
No.
reputation?
So he never came back to Florida once he left.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think he did come back, but I didn't necessarily know him then. So I didn't really know much about him. Now, after everything came out, the mutuals end up saying something, but after everything came out, the mutuals was like, "Yeah, I wanted to tell you, but you look so happy and you seem so happy." But he's
I
always
hate
been a
that
liar.
shit.
He's always been this. He lied to us and told us that he was in the NFL and he got drafted for Jacksonville. Like they started telling me so much stuff, like or his classmates or people who went, were from the neighborhood. But they were like, "But you look so happy." Yeah,
I
we thought he
hate that.
changed. Yeah,
Why not
that's what I would
say
get.
anything? Like,
We got to
what the?
normalize it. We got to normalize
Yeah.
saying something.
Why not normalize? Like, yeah, like, why not say anything? So, okay, so on the documentary, you talked about how one day you were on Facebook, you got a message, it was from him. Tell us a little bit about that message.
Yeah, so basically it was message, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm coming down. When you got a minute, put me in it." Dr. Wilkerson. He ends it with Dr. Wilkerson.
Mm,
So long story short, I actually had a business trip in Atlanta. So I flew up to Atlanta, and I told him, hey, I'm going to be in Atlanta this weekend. Maybe we can, do lunch. Because he had reached out to me a while, so many times he had reached out to me. And then I was like, you know what, we can go have lunch. I'm single, nothing going on. So we can do that. So we end up, you know, he picked me up in his Bentley at my hotel. We had a great time, and just kind of hung out and just started chit chatting. He was a doctor. He picked me up in his scrubs, but he picked me up in his medical scrubs, said he got to go back and change. And he had this nice high rise. I mean, it was crazy. When you think back about it, it's like, yeah. But they got to watch the documentary, Jess. We can't tell them everything.
No, yeah. No, let me ask you this, though. Because when I was watching the documentary, you're talking about how you guys had this great night. And you did talk about going to his high rise, and I couldn't help but to think, was that the only time that you had visited him in Atlanta? Like, had you been to his high rise other times afterwards?
I went to his high rise a couple times, and then he moved to Atlantic Station. So I'm sure you're familiar with you're in Atlanta, right? So
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
So he was
I'm from Miami. I'm a Miami girl.
right. I know you Miami girl, but you're in
Okay.
Atlanta right now, so you know where Centennial Park is. So those high
Yes.
rises right across from Centennial Park is where he lived. Right across from Centennial Park. And then he moved to Atlantic Station. But yeah, when I would go visit him, homeboy would go leave at 11 p.m., come back at 7 in the morning. He had 10:30 to 7:30 because he had an 11 to 7 shift at Emory Hospital. He would leave out the house in scrubs, while I'm in Atlanta visiting. So, I mean, you leave out the house in scrubs saying you're going to work, you're working in the ER at Emory Hospital, and you would come back at 7 in the morning. Bro, where were you? Where were you?
You know what's crazy? As I was watching the documentary, when you were detailing his schedule, I assumed it was 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't know why. But now when you say it was overnight, so was there any time, what's crazy? Because I was going to ask you, he said that he worked at Emory Hospital. He gave you the schedule. Had you ever passed by and like had lunch with him? But now when I think about it, he went overnight. You're asleep.
Sleep. Right. I'm asleep. And then, I'm in Atlanta. I didn't necessarily have transportation because I would fly in. He would pick me up from the airport. So at that time, from 11 to 7, that's when people sleep. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And he
Yeah.
wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be there.
Wow. Did you ever think to yourself, I have friends who know friends who work at Emory or something like that. Like, did it ever like occur to you that how did he go from playing football to being a doctor?
We talked. I asked those questions. And he basically, there's a whole story behind it. As a matter of fact, there was something that he had a whole website that said MD PhD at the time. He had his own website that literally said MD PhD. If you would Google his name, he had literally had a Google website, a link, not just that, LinkedIn. And let me just say this, there's a lot of things on the documentary, because remember, they have to condense it and edit it. And a lot of things that the documentary gave the broader picture.
Of
right?
course.
So it was a lot of things that were not showcased or talked about that, were shared, that the PIs uncovered even to me. So, your original question. So no, it wasn't that he knew somebody that knew somebody. It wasn't any of that. I asked the questions. He had this website. He had the LinkedIn profiles that said Dr. at Emory Hospital. Like, he had all of this. So if you Google him, you would see that he even had something on there, top 24 doctors at Emory. So it was, I'm telling you, like, dude had all this stuff online.
And what about like at home? What were you seeing? Were you seeing degrees? Were you seeing certificates? Were you seeing colleagues?
He had degrees. So remember, I live in Florida. I only
Right.
visited Atlanta.
Right.
So
This is
I don't know Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for the listeners too, right now we're mapping out before Shareza and Dorian got married. We're still in the dating phase. So you're in Florida, he's in Atlanta, you're visiting. So I'm asking those questions just to see. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. What were you seeing when you would come to Atlanta?
Oh, in Atlanta, I was seeing like he even started his own practice while, dating me called Body Renew in Atlanta. He
Well, the
had a
documentary
nurse,
don't say that.
right, right. He had a nurse working for him. He had a nurse working for him. I would go to that clinic. He would literally be doing like cool sculpting and different procedures, like non-surgical procedures on women in Atlanta at Atlantic Station. So he started his own practice at Atlantic Station where he had a nurse. I think I found out she was like a medical assistant, but still, you had a medical professional working for you. You were being called doctor there and everything.
Oh my God. What was his personality like?
Oh, very charming. Charming. Um, he literally mirrored me. So think about, I guess, somebody targeting you and watching you on social media, watching me and my daughters go feed the homeless, watching us do give backs, just everything. So I'm like, this person has the same heart as me. He has a
Oh my
passion for
God.
people. And, the reason that he said he became a doctor is because of his mother's medical conditions, and his brothers passed away from heart disease. And he gave me this story about his family. I mean, he actually literally has like, it's probably still somewhere online, but it's hidden now because he probably took down everything on his website where he had why he became a doctor and why he does what he does. Like he had a whole dissertation about that. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we're going to get into like the conning of it all, but was there a time when you came to find out that the stories he told you about like his family members and all that were those lies as well?
Well, it wasn't a lie because I met his mother like during her last days. So I did meet her, and she passed away from breast cancer. And his
Wow.
brother did die of a heart attack. His brother did pass away, from a heart attack. So these were true stories. I literally
Okay.
saw, it unfold. So you know how someone embellishes things, like, yeah, these
Mm.
were true. It was true, but he used it to his advantage. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, prior to me, there was another woman that he had scammed just prior to me.
I was
So
gonna get, I
yeah,
was gonna get to that.
yeah. So
Let let's
what?
we're gonna
He been doing it for over 20 years, Jess. That's
oh we're
and
gonna
and
okay.
that's
We're
something
gonna we're
they
because I was
focused
gonna
on my story, which is great because some people just don't understand that this was my story because I was the only one to go public
willing.
about it and be transparent. Yeah, but
Oh,
I'm
I
not
was
the
definitely going to.
only one.
Yeah, I'm definitely. We're gonna pin that, and we're gonna come back to that. Definitely want to ask you about other victims because there's no. I watched it and I said there's no way she's the first. There's no way she's the first. There's no way she's the last either. So you all are dating for about a year, and he tells you, "Hey, like I want to leave Atlanta. I want to move to Florida to be closer to you." Um, and you all decide to live together. Was that your idea or was it his idea?
No, it was his idea. I owned my own home. So
Okay.
I owned my own home. And if someone, they're saying we're going to be married and you proposing and things like that. So he didn't move to Florida until he proposed. Let me just say that. So
Oh,
he didn't move to Florida. And I think, and I don't, I mean, I can't recall how they do how the timeline is in
yeah.
the
And the doc,
documentary, but
that's
it's
not
not
the,
clear. It's
yeah,
not
that's
clear.
not clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not
So
clear.
we were
Because I
going to be
wanted to
married.
ask, okay, so he had proposed to you and
Hmm.
then suggested that he should move in with you.
Yeah, he had already proposed. I thought we were going to be, I'm like, oh my God, so I'm probably going to have to adjust my life and move to Georgia because you're a successful doctor at Emory. Why in the hell would you want to leave there and come
Right.
to Florida, you know? So that's basically what happened. He said he wanted a change. He wanted a change of environment, and he wanted to, come to Florida, start his practice here, and that's just basically what it was. So I
Did
didn't
you,
necessarily suggest, come move in with me, but I mean, I owned my home, and you were coming to Florida, and we were going to be married, so why not?
did you discuss finances with him? Like, hey, I need to see your finances. I need to see what you're bringing in. This is what our financial breakdown is going to be once we're together. Like, did you guys have those conversations?
Yeah, I seen bank statements that I found out were false. I seen bank statements. I seen tax returns. As a matter of fact, I seen a tax return where it said that he actually filed a fraudulent bankruptcy on this same thing, saying that he was a doctor at Emory, where he made $395,000. I saw this. This was a tax return that I probably still have. Like I have the receipts. So that's why I say, like, yeah, Netflix was surface level, but this was some real stuff. This was some real stuff.
He had every T,
Yeah,
every I
crossed,
dotted. Yeah.
every I dotted. Tax return, $395,000. He was spending money like crazy, but I later found out that that money came from a previous relationship and a previous person that he scammed he got her for like $250,000.
We're going to get to that. Let's put a pin in that. We're going to get to that. Okay. So he proposes, you're living together. You get married. When they were showing the wedding on the doc, I couldn't help but to think, who paid for the wedding?
Yeah, so that goes back to the previous person that I believe that's how a lot of the money came. I did put in, monies as well, but the majority of it, he put in, it was kind of, yeah, he put in money. He was spending money in the beginning. But again, even my engagement ring, I now believe came from that last person that he scammed prior to me.
Okay. This is insane. So he's spending money, lavish, because the wedding looked like a lavish wedding. You had 200 guests. That's an expensive ass wedding. You have your daughters. He is in your daughters' lives. They showcase on the documentary your daughters changing their last names to Wilkerson, his last name. Can you kind of talk to us about the relationship he had with your daughters and how this all affected them?
They had a decent relationship. Nikki, who is Yo Peoples, she
She's Haitian?
she's Haitian.
Oh,
Her dad is Haitian. He passed away when I was 5 months pregnant.
oh my
Yeah. So I was
gosh.
a single mom like instantly. And so she never had a father figure. She never had, well, I'm not gonna say she never had a father figure because my dad, is in her life, but she
Mm.
never had that. So for him to come in and kind of and Janiyah the same, her father was just absent, right? So like I said, I was a teen mom young, but Nikki's father, was tragically murdered when I was 5 months pregnant, and she never knew him.
Oh my
She never knew
gosh.
him. So, it's one of those things where when I think about that, and I'm just going to stop and just say this, that I've been through some shit. You know what I mean? I've been through some things where things just, I guess I'm just not meant to be broken down because I always rise from the ashes, right? So it was one of those things that, yeah, you infiltrated my life, but then my babies, you saw the document, the famous line that everybody keeps saying, like Nikki saying, we know the degrees were fake, but were the tears real?
But were the tears real?
So it really affected them. And I think the confrontation, really helped them to get closure, right? They got the closure that they needed. You saw Nikki was very emotional, very upset. And but she got the
And
closure she needed.
also, just briefly, for those of you all who have not seen the documentary, there is a point towards the end of SHAREZA'S story where her daughters are presented with the opportunity to confront Dorian. Dorian was at Georgia State University impersonating a PhD in math, impersonating a professor, and the PI on the show was able to track him down, and her daughters confronted him. I thought that was very, very strong of your daughters to do, but it really broke her down, especially your oldest. I mean, it broke her down.
Yeah. Yeah. She was hurt. It's something that she wanted to do. We talked about it. And a lot of, the viewers and listeners are probably like, well, why didn't you go with him? So I don't know if you want to get into that, but legally I could not. Legally I could not, because so these people, these narcissistic people, these con artists, when you start finding them out, they do whatever they can to retaliate. They hurt your livelihood, your sense of being, your reputation. They coming for your ass. They coming.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. And that's also what happened to previous women that he did it to, because they had a lot to lose. He deals with women who have a lot to lose. And they kind of back away like, you know what? This is my job. This is my career. This is my money. I have no more resources to fight. These are the types of people that they get because they know that these people will back down. Well, this time he got the right one, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was once he got served with divorce papers, because what he said to me was, you're not going to file for divorce. You're too worried about your reputation. That's what he said. So dude, bad, like you cocky with it. I filed for divorce. 2 weeks later, he went to Miramar Police Department. And this is why I have no respect. And I'll keep saying that for the city of Miramar at this point, because he went to Miramar. I had gone to Miramar on several occasions now, letting them know, like, I'm about to get divorced.
Yeah, that was going to be my questions down the line was, I don't understand. Yeah, I know we're jumping around, but it's okay, because that was going to be my question later on too, is make a long story short. Well, let's go back. Let's peel back for a moment. Your daughter confronts him, and this is towards the end of the story, but your daughter confronted him, and she had every reason to as well, not just because she's your daughter, but come to find out, he had defrauded her for $80,000 by filing for loans under her information. And what she said was he was able to get her information because he convinced you all in the household to store your personal information in a safe place. So you all, looking at him as the head of the. And so while you all were having this investigation, she found this out. And so she confronted him. And even then, like, you're lying, you're lying. Mind you, he's saying this while he's impersonating being a professor. Okay. Now, all this happens. Meanwhile, going back to SHAREZA'S story, let's just go back to, okay, now you all are living together, you're married, and he asked you to take out a loan. And what was the loan for that he asked you to take out, and how much was it?
So the first loan was for $100,000 for his to start the practice. That's what that loan was for.
Mm-hmm. But at that point, were you thinking to yourself, well, you had the practice in Atlanta. To your knowledge, where was the practice in Atlanta?
Yeah, so he was he was actually, at that time, he was supposed to keep the practice in Atlanta, but he was going to go back and forth, but it became too much for him. But the truth is, he was running from the shit that was happening to him in Atlanta. He was running. So,
exactly.
Of course, we find that out later.
Yeah.
But so what happened with the monies and why that had to happen that way is because his mom was gravely ill, and she really was. I seen that, firsthand. But he was saying that the center that she was in was charging him X amount of $1,000 a day because her insurance wasn't covering everything. And basically he was paying for her medical expenses. And it was a lot, to keep her, alive and comfortable and things of that sort. I mean, it really made sense, because I went through it in 2010 with my grandmother, how these, senior care living, these facilities that they go in, and how the insurance only pays a lot. And I'm like, well, did I share that on my Facebook before? Because like this was the story that the same thing that happened with, or I had to share it with him. I don't know, but it was just like, yeah, no, I get it. When he was saying it, it was like, no, I understand. I get it, because I had to go through that, with my grandmother. We had to deal with that because my grandmother passed away in 2010, and she was in a senior living facility. They were taking care of her when she was ill on dialysis, just dealing with health issues. So it made sense.
Yeah.
If you had to to keep your loved ones comfortable and alive and being taken care of, it was going to cost you.
Now, I do have a question regarding his facility that he wanted to open in Florida. So his job at Emory Hospital, he was an ER doctor.
And he was
The fac-
also an epidemiologist that worked for the CDC. Yeah. He was an epidemiologist, and they, that wasn't mentioned on the documentary either, but he was an epidemiologist, which is why, Nikki was telling them which is why they called him Doc, because he was an MD PhD. The PhD was in epidemiology. The MD was in internal medicine.
So he was an internal medicine doctor. He was a disease control doctor for the CDC. And also he did plastic surgery.
No, he did not do plastic surgery.
Okay.
So he was not the actual surgeon. He hired the surgeons to perform the work, but he was doing the consultations.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, he was doing the consultations, but he
Okay.
didn't perform any surgery. I think Dr. Bradley said that they asked him
Right.
that. He didn't perform surgeries.
But there were like Facebook videos of him going live where he was doing like cool
Yeah,
sculpting,
right.
like
So
non-invasive.
right, exactly. He was doing the non-invasive. And it's so disgusting, Jess, because when I think about it and see it, I'm like, you were literally touching women. Like, why are you still walking around free? You were touching these women.
Groping.
Right.
Yeah.
You were
Legally
groping these
assaulting,
women.
basically.
Yeah.
Legally assaulting
Yeah.
women. Okay, so the facility was called Best You Now. And that's where he was hiring folks to do the cosmetic surgery. And so he wanted you to get the loan so that you can open up the business. What did you think about getting a loan? Because again, like you said in the beginning, when y'all are dating and when y'all first got together, he was spending a lot of money. You weren't aware of where it was coming from. To your mind, in your mind, this is coming from his employment. So how did you feel about, you know, getting these loans? Okay, so unfortunately, while recording this podcast episode, some of the visual and recording got corrupted. So I just want to drop right on in, not out, but in, and just fill in some blanks. So we kind of lost each other when we were talking about how the fake doctor was transitioning from Atlanta to South Florida. And in his transition, he was asking her for multiple loans. And I had asked her, how did she feel about this? Because, he had a very successful business in Atlanta. So why was he asking her for loans to open up the next one? And, she thought that she was investing in their future. It was a partnership. So at the moment, it wasn't too alarming for her. And I believe she also told me that in the beginning, the loans weren't really that scary. They were building for the future. She was going to be a partner in this. And so in her mind, she was investing in their future. We also did talk about the fact that the business did start failing. If you watch Love Con Revenge, her episode of it, there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Bradley, I believe Dr. Tim Bradley, who talked about the fact that the business was failing because Dorian was scamming. He was taking all the money and mismanaging the money. And she also talked about the fact that she had her own career. So the business was doing well up until the time where she stepped away. Like she thought she could trust him with the business. So she was kind of like
looking after the business from afar, and that's when everything just fell apart. He was mismanaging the money. People weren't getting paid. Dr. Tim wasn't getting paid. And while this was all going on, this is also when his niece passed away from a procedure that she had done at the actual office. This is also in the Love, Con, Revenge series as well, where she talks about his own niece, his own family member. I think it was his niece or younger cousin, his own family member who came by, had a procedure, and she passed away. And she talked about the fact that he wasn't even concerned. Like, her husband wasn't even concerned about his niece passing away. His main concern was what it was going to do to the business. He didn't even go to the hospital to check on the niece or anything. Like, she just passed away, and he just really didn't give a damn. This was also covered in the Love, Con, Revenge episode with her as well. Shareza did talk about the fact that she found out that he was leaving her because she passed by his office one day. He was supposed to be in the office, but he turned out not to be there. And lo and behold and lo, I can't remember whether it was on his cell phone or maybe like on an iPad or something, maybe on the computer, she saw a message from him to a friend of his saying, yo, she out of money, she broke, I'm leaving. Like, imagine taking up all this lady's money, good credit, putting her in so much debt, basically like $1 million, like I think it was like $2 million of debt. I have to look back, but I believe it was like almost $2 million worth of debt. And saying she broke, I'm leaving. Like, what? And she said that not only did he leave, but once he left, that she actually started feeling better. Apparently, she had been getting very sickly towards the end of their marriage, and it was her belief that he had actually been putting things into her food, putting things into her drink, basically trying to end her life. And had he been successful, he had actually taken out a policy on her. So he would have had a huge payday. So she was going through it with this man, like not only with him putting her in so much debt, but him also going as far as to possibly take her life away from her so that he could cash in. Like, I'm so mad that this part of the interview got corrupted, but I had to drop on in and let you guys know that is why I'm dropping on in, because that was about a good 10 minutes of the interview is gone, and that's what we were discussing. So back to the interview.
Okay, so where I was, okay, so now we're at the point where he has left, right? And earlier you were telling me about how you wanted to file for divorce and he was trying to manipulate you into not filing. Can you kind of speak about that?
Well, yeah, he basically said that I'm not going to file for divorce because I'm too worried about my reputation. So I was a public figure out there, doing my women's summits, but divas don't do drama summits, and, speaking and writing books and, just doing my thing. And I built a pretty decent reputation, for myself. But that was all based off of transparency and, my character and things that I love to do. So he basically felt like, yeah, you're too embarrassed. Like, you ain't going to do that to yourself. You ain't going to file for divorce. You trying to basically kind of like you want to have this, I guess, cookie cutter life where you're a married woman and all this stuff. So basically, you're not going to file for divorce. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. He said, I'm too worried about my reputation. Those were his exact words.
But you pushed forward anyway. And then you were saying how he had kind of beat you to the Miramar police. Because as I was watching the documentary...
He didn't necessarily beat me to it. They just kind of... Because I had gone to them several times. Reached out to them.
Okay, because on the documentary, I'm like, okay, is she not getting the police involved?
No,
what... Who went to the police first? Was it you?
I went to the police first. I went to the police several times. And then he ended up going, and he didn't even go until two weeks after he was served with divorce papers is when he ended up going to Miramar Police Department. And he basically told them that that he got a check for his mom's life insurance, and I deposited into my account, but it was actually our joint account with both of our names on it, and that I used all the money, and that and basically that I stole the money. And then he also told them that that I filed for divorce in March, and he got served with divorce papers in March, which in actuality he only got served with divorce papers 2 weeks prior to him going to file the police report. He filed the police report because he was served with divorce papers. And the timeline is there. Had Miramar done their proper investigation, they would have, caught that. He did a sworn statement with them. It said that he got served in March with divorce papers. So he lied to them. It even has on the police report that he's a plastic surgeon, and they put that on there. That's on the actual police records. That's on there. And girl, they turn around and basically, long story short, I find out that there's a warrant for my arrest, and I got to turn myself in and spend about 12 hours in jail. Yeah.
This man defrauded you for more than $2 million, and you had a warrant for your arrest?
Yeah. Because he went in there probably with his suit on and lying to them and talking to them. But at the same time, Miramar Police Department had an obligation to do their background, to do their investigation. And they were very negligent because I talked to them. I tried to file police reports. They told me that it was a civil matter that had to be handled through the divorce. He committed perjury, and he still has not been charged with that either. Even so, and believe it or not, these charges just got officially dropped this year in July.
So even while you were shooting the documentary, those charges were still active?
Which is why I could not confront him with the girls.
Oh, okay, because I was going to ask you that. I was going to say your daughters confronted him, but you didn't.
I could not legally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could
So at what point do you learn that I may not be his only victim?
So before the documentary, I had already, we were in talks of it, but I had wrote my book, Successful Women Get Played Too, Mastering the Art of Owning Your Shit, Keeping Your Shit, and Keeping It Moving, right? So I wrote that book based off of this experience. And, but I was on social media very transparent about what had happened and what had occurred. Even when I had to turn myself in, I posted my own damn mugshot. I made sure that the girls posted, as soon as it come out, posted, because nobody is going to tell my story. So they posted it. I had already did a video letting, my audience know that I'm going to have to turn myself in and this is what's happening. So I was very transparent because I was, talking about narcissistic abuse and things that I was going through. So, so that's basically how, when people had reached out, other people had reached out. But we found it, I think it was either doing research, there was a lawsuit that ended up coming up that where someone who is in law enforcement, he scammed. And they filed a lawsuit against him. And it was for like $265,000 that he had defrauded this woman. And I found out, that he ended up writing a letter. This is how he got rid of her. I would think, trying to hurt her livelihood. He wrote a letter to her sergeant and said that she was harassing him. So it was kind of like,
my gosh.
Resources, like you're hurting people's livelihood, so they're gonna back away. They're like, I don't have time for this shit. I gotta move on with my life, and they took the loss. So, but she's in law enforcement and her superiors didn't think to do their due diligence and do the research? No, I mean, she just kind of let it go because she, I mean, you're a black woman in law enforcement. This is your livelihood. This is your career. You're doing very well for yourself. Seems to be a very, she's a successful person. She has properties. She has a life. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, number one, I'm in law enforcement. It kind of looks, it's embarrassing to even speak out. How did I get scammed by this person? So it's embarrassing. It is shameful. Not everybody wants to go through that. So for the sake of her peace, she just gracefully just was like, whatever, and kind of let it go. And I found out a lot more about it, after the fact. And even today I'm still learning. Someone else reached out saying that she had a 30-year-old daughter from him. Yeah, she has a 30-year-old daughter from college, and that he never took responsibility. So it's a lot.
I was going to ask you, because even when you guys first started dating, like, did he tell you about like his previous dating life? Had he been married? Did he have kids? Like, what did he tell you about his previous
So
life?
did they? I don't even think they said in the documentary. I was actually his fifth wife. I was his fifth wife. Yeah. So that's why I said,
oh my God.
Listen, it's the book. You got to get the book, Successful Women Get Played Too. I talk about all that in the book.
The documentary does this like, the documentary is already a lot, but it does it no justice. You were his fifth wife. So talk to me about, okay, at what point do you find out that you were
eight or I think 10 kids? Because I just found out about the 30-year-old probably like a couple months ago. Yeah.
Hey.
And then there's another kid. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Wait, so, okay, at what point did you find this out, and did any of the previous wives or previous girlfriends come to you and say, hey, he did this to me?
So there's one that I'm really cool with. I'm really cool with her, and this was the youngest daughter of him. And she never necessarily talked about him being a fraud in a sense, but it was more so him just not doing the right thing, about her daughter and different things. And once, we got together, it was like, listen, I can't be with nobody who ain't gonna do the right thing. So I kind of begged her to foster the relationship between her daughter, which, I feel so bad now because he has completely just, he's not doing anything for his daughter anymore. Once I filed for divorce, she stopped getting child support. Yeah. He has not taken care of his children. But one of the ex-wives, who is like his first wife, who we have said is allegedly his accomplice, she has been involved in every scam. She has been involved with every scam. She knows every wife, every ex-wife. She's been involved in everything. So we are, we have gathered that that's his accomplice. Like, that's his accomplice, no lie. She has helped him tremendously through every scam. She's even gotten money from it. Even, it's all public records. They have filed a fraudulent bankruptcy together, saying that they were husband and wife. Even when going through the divorce process, her name, her email address was on my docket where she would get my, notifications and things. So she was literally helping him. She was helping
this man fraud you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And not just me, she was involved in the previous person as well. It's like 3-4 other women who always mention her name.
Remember when you said when you guys first got together, he was spending a lot of money, and come to find out it was because of another victim? Mm-hmm. Was that one of his ex-wives?
No, she was in a relationship with him, but she was not married to him. This person, yeah.
And do you know, like, maybe the gist of what her story is? How much he defrauded out of her?
No, that was the one in law enforcement for $265,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the one prior,
and it probably
to
was
that,
more than that.
Yeah. I believe it was, but that's what she alleged. And I believe it. I believe it because our stories are so similar. She said that he portrayed himself as a doctor at Emory Hospital. When I actually read the lawsuit that she tried to file against him, she put all of that in there. Mm-hmm.
So my thing is,
she filed this lawsuit against him, and she tried to get justice, and she didn't even get justice. But like I said, this is her career. So now it's like, do I want to keep moving forward, or do I just want to move on with my life? And she has moved on with her life, and she's recouped, she's rebuilt. It took some time, but she's in a much better place, and proud of her. Even his, daughter's mom, she's still fighting him in court for child support.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's just
But
crazy.
I can't help but to be baffled by the fact that law enforcement has not, at the very least, jailed this man for impersonating doctors and surgeons. Like,
They
what
have
is
not.
what is their excuse for that?
I felt like that he had some insides with Miramar Police Department, because even when I would go down there, he would know that I went to Miramar Police Department. And I reached out to Mayor Messam. I reached out to the Chief of Police, and I said, listen, I believe that there's a mole in your department because something isn't right. I said, I'm reaching out to you all. So this is when they decided, girl, that this is when I got the warrant for my arrest after I reached out to the mayor and the chief. So it's kind of like, because the chief sent the email to, I feel like, the whole damn department, not realizing that he has some corrupt people within that department. And I end up getting a warrant for my arrest after that. He filed this report in May 31st. He filed the report. I didn't get officially, I didn't get the warrant out until like September, November.
And just for the record, he's never had a warrant out for his arrest.
No, not during this process. But he's a convicted felon, and that's something else that they left out in the documentary. He's a convicted felon for fraud. He was I think you got to look at the Daily Mail article. They have his mugshots in there and everything. He's a convicted felon for fraud that I found.
And so why is that not enough to arrest him if he's still frauding people? That's what I'm not understanding. Also, too, on the documentary, the PI was able to find that he had been sent a cease and desist by the board of
They said Georgia and Florida.
yes,
Yeah.
by both states. He was sent a cease and desist because he was impersonating a doctor.
Yeah.
So even then again, I'm like, why does this not result in this man being jailed at the very least?
And these are things
Being
that I
jailed.
gave to Plantation Police Department because the center was in Plantation. I provided this to Miramar Police Department, and nothing has happened. But I end up in a holding cell for 12, 13 hours.
So yeah, that's really ridiculous, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. You don't deserve that. Like, that's really ridiculous. Looking back, do you feel that there were some signs that you missed?
There are always signs, looking back, but of course it's hindsight. And, I wrote in the book, when I wrote Successful Women Get Played Too, the heart wants what the heart wants. It's definitely not out of, because I was doing very well for myself. And I don't think I'm a bad looking chick either. I work out,
Girl,
I
you
take care
fine
of
as hell.
myself, and I'm good. So people, it has nothing to do with desperation. It has to do with a charming ass motherfucker that just came and mirrored who I was. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be cursing, Jess. I'm sorry. But,
That's okay.
Like, who mirrored who I was, mirrored me, and became the person that a woman like me would want to be with, right? So you mirrored and it was more so the heart. Like, that's kind of what captured it. It wasn't necessarily the looks or anything. It was like, you said you feed the homeless. You said you have a passion for people. That's you love God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in church every Sunday. I'm doing my thing. My daughters are praying. We do our thing. Me and my girls. It was me and my girls. And you became this God-fearing man, and you literally targeted me and became the person that I would want. And then I feel like he did the same thing with my father. You infiltrated my dad. You had certain conversations in the beginning, and my dad would share things, and then you actually listened to him and kind of like, okay. And then now you become this person because you know that I'm very close to my dad. So you even con my dad, or you become that person who
If
that
there
I
wa-
would admire.
Yeah. If there were like one particular thing, if you looked back, was there like one particular thing that he did that now when you look back, you say, oh, I
So
overlooked that?
It was talking about my it was kind of like as I tried to get to know him and more about his career in the beginning and trying to ask questions about the CDC and him, you know, working, you know, and you know, working and everything. He didn't really want to talk. He wanted to act like he was just so into me and my job and what I was doing. But really, you were trying to figure out how much money she making, what's homegirl worth, what's she doing with herself. You know what I mean?
He was downloading you.
And then you would have phone calls in front of me, like business calls in front of me. That, you know, when I think back, it's just like one call was like, oh, if I'm going to invest $1 million in a business, like you having these real business conversations in front of me. I'm like, okay, this is a businessman. He know what he's talking about. Like, you know, just different things. But you look back to see how you were being set up. You know what I mean? And then even the moving to Florida, you know, so fast. And you even saw how shocked I was when the proposal video, like I was like kind of forced to be like, oh, yes. You know what I mean? Because it was just kind of like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He threw all your family, all your friends in your face, and you kind of looked like you just had no other choice but to say yes. And on the documentary, the time frame of that was he had asked you for a loan, you said no. Mm-hmm. And then he followed that up with, oh, I want to marry you. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So then you come with this nice diamond, like you had to pay for it, right? Like you paid for that. You got money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has this experiment shaped how you view love now, love and dating?
Yeah. So I love when y'all be asking me this question because, like, the truth of the matter is, and I'll tell this to all your listeners, all the viewers, do not allow anyone to deprive you from what you deserve. I've always said that I'm going to love again. I've always said that I'm not afraid to love again. I'm in love with some background checks and some credit checks and some, you know, references and everything, but I wasn't afraid to love again. I'm actually in that space now because so you have to understand, this has happened over a span of 3-4 years now. So people are just getting the story, but I've been going through this. I have been going through that for years. So I'm actually in a place where I am able to love again. I'm actually, in a very healthy relationship now. Yeah, girl, my man. When I tell you that this man just got me so soft, and just like when I tell you, like, I know what I deserve and I know my worth, and I'm getting that. And girl, I'm talking about your girl cooking and cleaning and child washing clothes, like things that I just never would do. I would tell every man, like, listen. I would tell a man, like, listen, I'm not domesticated, but I make sure you eat. Like this, like I want to cook for this man. He makes me want to cook. He makes me feel safe. And even just, just taking care of just my mind and just protecting me. Like in real life, I see it. And like, girl, like that's why I've always said I'm not going to allow anybody to deprive me from what I deserve and what I'm willing to give, because I give love. I'm a good ass person, and nobody gonna take that away from me. Nobody's gonna make me have a hard heart. And I want any woman who's gone through anything out there to realize that do not give up on love. Don't deprive yourself from something because you went through a bad experience. I mean, this was by far one of the worst experiences of my life, but it didn't break me. It didn't break me. It didn't harden my heart, because what I tell people is that I was married to a character. It wasn't a real person. It was a character, which is like when I wrote the book, I write the book as like a play, like round of applause, curtain finally closing. Like I'm writing it to Rihanna's, Take a Bow. And the chapter is called Take a Bow. Like, good job. Yeah. You got me. You know what I mean? But it doesn't change my perspective of love, because I know what love really is. And I have a dad who loves the hell out of his baby girl, who taught me, what it should be. Unfortunately, I got in a very bad situation, with someone who was just not a good person that I came across. And I have to just, just let it be. I'm not happy that I went through it, but I always know that, God allows us to turn our pain into purpose and power. And that's what we do. I created my foundation behind it because of the whole systemic injustice that I've gone through as a Black woman. You know what I mean? Just being like the tables being turned on me, like I'm the bad person. You know, the Respect All Women Foundation is called RAW because we are raw. So
I love that.
It's called Respect All Women. The foundation that was birthed out of this, where women who need the resources and the systemic injustices that we go through, even women that went through any type of traumatic experience. Because we have to have that sisterhood, that camaraderie, and that's something that I don't see enough of. We talk the talk, but we ain't walking the walk in real life, because we are I see it with, women, Black women. So, so back to your original question. I'm not afraid to love again because I deserve it. And
how do you feel about the way your story has been perceived? Like, what has been the response on your end? Have you gotten a lot of women reaching out to you, supporting you, sharing their stories? What has been your experience?
Yes, I've gotten a tremendous amount of support. And what I love to focus on is the support and the positive. But what I do want to touch on is that, unfortunately, it's our own people, my own Black women and men, who tend to make jokes out of it, who tend to, criticize me for, I guess, using the word stupid, dumb, or I could never, and things like that. And, that's disheartening, of course. But at the same time, when I tell you throughout life, because I understand this thing called life, I've developed some thick ass skin, right? I have some thick skin, so I don't necessarily focus on the negative comments. It's a shame. But I focus on those that tend to support, those that tend to, need the help, those that are saying, wow, this is crazy. Some, well, how could you not know? I mean, you weren't in the situation. And I think I'm a smart ass person, but I got God. And I can admit that. I hold myself accountable because that's, when I wrote Successful Women Get Played Too, I talk about accountability because I talk about owning your shit. When you own it, it's not just about, your assets, it's about owning everything that you've gone through and what you decided to turn a blind eye to. You understand? So, and there were things that I turned a blind eye to. In the marriage, there was later on, after the fact, I found out about infidelity. I found out about so many different things that, patience that
when did he have time to do this?
That's what I was saying, but he was so good at it. And again, I was in corporate America. I was writing my books. I was writing stage plays. I was doing my thing still. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I need her to stay busy. So as long as she's staying busy and doing what she's doing, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Which is it is what it is, But again, like I said, we focus on the positive and not the negative.
How have you moved on post this? Like, where do you stand as far as the debt, and how do you move forward and still be successful despite this?
So I'm going through, I had to file bankruptcy. I had to, because of all the debt. I had to file bankruptcy. And that's another, when I talk about systemic injustice. I had a chat with Cecile, I think last week. We did a live together, and she's, the woman that's from Tinder Swindler, and she was saying she understands the privilege now. She said, at first she didn't necessarily want to see it, but she understands that. She said because she had to file bankruptcy, and she said it was so smooth for her. She said she went in there, they believed her. Of course, some people didn't, but when she went to the police, she said, and she understands that it was because of where she was from and the color of her skin, because she's met African-American women who have gone through this situation, and it's so hard for them. So she admitted this. So this is real. So even going through the whole bankruptcy system, it's kind of like, well, when you sold your house, what'd you do with your money? And I was like, listen, I was rebuilding my life. So what happened is we filed a settlement agreement. We had a settlement agreement for the divorce. And I was like, you know what? Take half the money for the house. We sold the house, take it. I said, but he has to sign a non-prosecution affidavit. He has to drop these bogus ass charges, and I'll give you the money. I just want my life back. I'll drop the civil suit. This is the things that he wanted me to drop, the civil suit, and I did. Because I just wanted to move on with my life, right?
Wow.
Let me just move on. So you know what happened? Once he got the money, and this shouldn't be a crime. His ass should be in jail for this. He filed the settlement. He signed he did the settlement agreement. Once the money was deposited he had the money, first of all, sent to his ex-wife, who I tell you is an accomplice, her account. Once the money was deposited, he went back to the state attorney's office and told him he didn't want to drop the charges. He was under duress when he signed it, after he got the money. So the saga continued. So after I thought I was about to move on with my life, because I was ready to, start my business. I had another building. I was doing my thing, ready to start the business, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to clear this debt out because I know what I'm capable of. I had to use that for attorney fees. I had to go and pay attorneys, and, I still had to live, right?
Oh my God.
I got this criminal case over my head. How can I go back to corporate America right now at that time? This was last year. How could I do that? So, another thing, where's my reparations? I've gotten nothing back.
This is insane.
So I'm going through the bankruptcy. The systemic injustice is crazy. They're treating me as if I'm hiding money and assets and everything. Oh, I had on the little store, you go get your little costume jewelry. I had on my because we may not have it like that, we still gonna make it look good. You ain't never gonna see SHAREZA looking a mess.
These is from Amazon.
Okay, and I'm talking about beauty supply store, nice little necklace. They're like, "Oh, where you got that from? You're wearing diamonds." No, baby, this is $2.99 at a beauty supply store.
Literally, please.
They're all on me. I'm talking about these people went on my Instagram. Well, I said, listen, just because I don't look like what I've been through, don't mean I ain't been through it. I just know how to carry it. And I will never.
But also, there's all this evidence.
When Cecile talked about that, we have this much. You see, this thick folder of evidence that I was defrauded, that he's defrauded other people, that I'm not the first. But I was still dealing with that, still going through it. So right now, I'm rebuilding. I'm starting. I have the virtual wellness. I have the foundation. I know I have to dedicate to the people. My passion is for women. I love the black men too, and I love the men and everything, but my passion is for women.
Black women.
Just us. And we got to take care of us in real life, man.
Yes.
In real life.
And that's why, too, I want to touch back on something that you said, because I've even shared a story about, I had a story called the LA Swindler. It was a guy that I was seeing that he didn't swindle me, but there were some things that happened between us that led me to believe he was trying to swindle me out of money. And I remember coming to the internet and talking about it, and come to find out he had swindled not only many, many, many women, but he had defrauded a church that he used to work for out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And recently he was finally brought up on federal charges. But I remember when I told the story, it was so many folks, like you said earlier, it was black women. Oh, but you dated him. Oh, but you just mad that you just mad. You a woman scorned. Scorned out of what? Scorned by what? I wasn't even in a relationship with this man. He didn't steal from me. I just felt in my gut from things that I had seen circumstantially that this man was a fraudster. And come to find out, lo and behold and lo, he was a fraudster. So when you say that you're here for black women, I really want black women too we need to give each other more grace. And also we need to listen, take heed when you hear a black woman telling you, don't get me wrong, there's times when people just be mad or whatever, but no, when someone is laying out, mapping out action after action after action to tell you, hey, this person is a scammer, this person's a swindler, please take heed to that. It's not that lady's not hating. She not mad, or she might be mad. But even if she's mad, it doesn't negate what he is doing. Please, we have to do better. Black women are a target. And as you just heard Shareza just say, this man was targeting successful Black women with kids, with careers. He was very mindful of who he was targeting and still targeting probably till this day. And so,
Girl, if I told you he was right up there with you acting as a pastor in Atlanta in Forest Park, Georgia, you wouldn't even believe me. Yeah, pastor now. And they're allowing him to get away with this. Now
are
you're
you
playing
serious?
With now
What
playing
church
with
is
the
this?
church. It's called Gateway Restoration Church. Because they sent it to me. Someone sent it to me about a month ago. I'm going to tell you the name.
Dorian Wilkerson is a pastor at Gateway
Restoration Church in Forest Park, Georgia.
Oh no, we finna send this up.
Yeah. And
no,
the
ma'am.
thing is, you put in hand, it's Gateway Restoration Church in Forest Park, Georgia.
Gateway Restoration Church. You are allowing Dorian Wilkerson, who is a fraudster, who has impersonated being a doctor, who has impersonated being a internal medicine doctor, lied about having a PhD, lied about being a cosmetic
Epidemiologist.
surgeon.
Yeah.
Please, so now you're letting him lead the flock. This man was literally using fake degrees to grope women, to legally assault women in their bodies, and now you're allowing him to pastor at your church?
Yeah. And people who've watched Love Con Revenge have commented, because they sent it to me. Like, people are sending this to me and they're commenting on their page because they got him on their live speaking and everything.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What church?
Gateway Restoration Church in
I
Forest
am
Park, Georgia,
livid.
on their Facebook page. It's there.
This is ridiculous. Okay, they don't have a big IG following, but so you said it's on their Facebook. This is pretty ridiculous. It's just crazy how these fraudsters can just move and reshape their way into other sectors of the world and just collect more victims. Now he's going to have more victims from the house of God. That's really insane.
Yeah. But it's in Forest Park, Georgia, girl. It's sad.
I'm definitely gonna.
You laying
I'm definitely
hands on
gonna.
people. You're touching people. Like, now you playing with God though. So it's just a matter of time now.
Yeah. Well, going forward, Shareza, how do we support you? I know, if you have not watched Love Con Revenge, please watch it. Your episode is episode 3, right?
3 and 4, yes.
3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, we covered a lot here, but there's still more to see.
Yeah.
And I think it lays a lot of the background throughout the docuseries. But how else do we support you going forward? Where do we follow you? Where do we buy your books?
You can
what do you
follow
have
me
coming up?
on Instagram. Instagram is Shareza J, SHAREZA J. I have my book. My website is sharezaj.com. It's also on Amazon, but I prefer y'all to go to my website and buy it because we know how it go. They be taking a lot. They take a lot of percentage. I love Amazon to death. I Amazon out, but they be taking a lot of the percentage. So the book is Successful Women Get Played Too.
Wow.
And it talks about it's mastering the art of owning your shit, keeping your shit, and keeping it moving. So really just, it talks about the story. It goes more into depth of, what occurred, but it also gives women pointers and red flags because I actually have a section after each chapter and say, what are the red flags that you see in this chapter? Being totally transparent and accountable. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's about. Accountability is key. And I had to hold myself accountable for some of the things that I didn't see and some of the things that I missed or looked over right? So
Yeah.
it's all about helping women just understand. So when you read it, it's literally like you're reading this and then you're going to go back and it's like, okay, no, this was a red flag. This was a red flag. And you're
Yeah.
writing it out. Like, what were the red flags that you see? So that's on my website. My website is SHAREZA'S.com. Speaking engagements, podcasts, I'm open to speaking. I'm talking about women's wellness, mind, body, and soul, entrepreneurship. I literally, tell people that I really am a woman's woman in real life. And I can talk to you whether you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth or you serving spoons or you selling spoons. It don't matter. You know what I mean? Because every walk of life, I always say, in each one of us, there's all of us. So we got to make sure that we're supporting one another. And yes, y'all, I'm trying to rebuild. Have moved on. When I talk about this stuff, I want to make sure that people understand that it ain't got nothing to do with your homegirl ain't bitter at all. She ain't bitter at all. I was married to a character. This happened, and it's all about bringing awareness because I'm in a very good place mentally. And one thing that he was never able to take away from me was my peace of mind. And I thank God that mentally I remained sane because a lot of people would not have been able to go through this. So
listen,
it's mentally, it was draining. I had my days, but at the same time, I still have my mental health therapy. I would tell anybody who's going through it to seek therapy. Counseling does not equal crazy. Okay. It does not equal crazy. So we need to, if we got to talk to somebody, and don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. We just got to stop victim shaming and blaming because this is real. It's real. So yes, y'all, support me. Go to my website, SHAREZA'S.com, purchase the book, and, I'm available to speak. I do conferences and workshops and everything. I think I'm very well versed in everything that I do, and I have a passion for women. I really have a passion for women.
Well, I love it. I love that you're moving forward and that you're rebuilding and that you didn't allow him to take your spirit and your soul and to break you. But I'm still very sad. I'm still sorry that this happened to you, but I know that a lot of deliverance can happen through you and through your story. So I'm really happy that you decided to spend this time with me, Shareza, and I really, really look forward to seeing what's next for you. Y'all that are listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Jess, a Couple Things. Please, please, please make sure that you follow Shareza. All her information is going to be on the screen and in the description box. And listen, again, make sure you're following Jess, a Couple Things on every platform that streams podcasts. Take care of yourselves and each other. Shareza, take care of yourself.
Thank you. You take care of yourself too. Stay
Thank you, thank you,
gorgeous and
thank
stay motivating.
Same to you. Same to you. All right, y'all. See y'all next time. Bye.